Hey guys, Mike Toy, Bonsai Boise. So this is a Ming Aralia that I picked up recently. It's actually my fourth attempt at Ming Aralias. I have a very dismal record with these. The first one, I think aphids got to it a few years ago. I forget what happened to the second one. And the third one, about 6 months ago, I did make a video on because I bought it, let it sit for a couple of weeks, watered it just a little bit because I know they don't like a ton of water, and it immediately died. But thanks to Jay at Blue Jays Bonsai, I'm going to try a new method with a new type of soil, Kanuma soil. So I'm going to repot this. I'm going to try taking some cuttings, as you can see here, wet and dry version. We'll see how it goes. Let's get started. So here's a closer look at it. They're really pretty trees. They, from looking at them, you would swear that they're some type of tropical tree. I mean, at least they strike me as one. They've got these kind of dainty looking little leaves. I don't know what it is about it. They just strike me as a tropical tree. And I associate tropical trees with needing lots of water. But these do not like a lot of water. As you can see there, the soil is very dry. They actually need it on the dry side. And one of the best phrases that I've heard with these is that they thrive on neglect. This is the new pot that I'm going to put it in. Kind of a deep blue, almost a purplish tint to it. I'm going to reduce the height quite a bit, maybe about half. Not exactly sure yet. I don't have a solid plan going in. I typically look at these and kind of know exactly what I want to do. But on this one, I'm just winging it a little bit. Here's the soil that I'm going to try using, Kanuma soil. Again, thanks to Jay at Blue Jays Bonsai. I messaged him because he had a great looking Ming Aralia. I wanted to know what his secret was because mine always die. And this is what he said to try. So we're going to give this a shot. Now, one big oversight on my part, which you're going to see more of here in a few minutes, is for some reason that bag looked like it was enough soil at first. Get a closer look at the soil. It's kind of like these little yellow pellets. I really don't know much about it. But anyway, I really thought I would have enough soil there. You're going to see soon that I don't. I have to improvise a little bit. But before we get into that part, let's do a light trim. I haven't picked a front for this tree yet. And typically I like to. I kind of like to have at least a rough idea of, okay, what's the front going to be? I want to put the front, facing diagonal, into a corner or something. So I want to figure out which way I want it facing. And since I don't know, I'm just sort of trimming cautiously and slowly. What I start to realize as I trim more and more here, the front starts to just kind of open up all on its own. And as far as the style goes, I start leaning toward just a multi-trunk sort of clump style. It's not really a clump style because it really does all come from one main trunk there at the bottom, but it's kind of a multi-trunk style. Kind of just raw and wild, not pristine, manicured. I mean, after all, it's coming from raw material, so it's hard to get a very refined, pristine look first go around at it. So I'm just doing some trimming, taking it down little bit by little bit. In my experience, what little experience I have with these, and they did stay alive, is that they're somewhat slow growing. at least compared to what I'm used to with ficus and maples and whatnot. They're a little slower growing, so I'm being careful with my cuts because they don't grow back super fast. But little by little, I start taking it down. And you can see I start to figure out where the front is going to be. So I put a little chopstick there just to keep me from spinning myself into circles too much on it. I'm thinking that is going to be the front. It's got a lot of foliage on the back side, which I like. I want to try and retain all of that. And I'm following my typical 80-20 rule. I'm getting it pretty close to within shape. Not 100%, at least not yet. Too soon to start refining. But I'm getting it pretty close. Try to nip away at this big open cut here, so that when it heals back, it's less of a 90-degree looking cut. So a little bit more about these trees. Everything that I've read and seen, at least, that I'll share with you, is that they don't like a ton of water. They certainly do not like sitting in water. So free draining soil is a must. And even then, they like it very much on the dry side. So my plan is to water this maybe every 2 weeks, but I'm going to keep a close eye on it, see how it does. So they like it on the dry side. They do not like direct sun. They like bright, indirect light. I'm sure there are exceptions to that, and there's probably someone out there who will disagree with me, and that's fine. I could always be wrong on this stuff. This is just the bits and pieces that I've gathered and the little experience that I have. So I've got a room that has a lot of bright indirect light. That's where I'll be keeping it. Happens to be my office, so it would be another office bonsai, because I don't have enough of them yet. So I'm just working away at it with a chopstick here to try to get all the old soil off. Eventually I ditch the chopstick and just use my fingers. It's got a lot of roots. I really want to keep the root trimming to a minimum if I can. Mostly because I'm gun shy with these Ming Aralias. A lot of the roots, as you can see here, I exposed a lot of trunk that was hidden in the soil. So I'm going to try to recapture some of that trunk line again. So I'm just going to take a little off the bottom. And then some of the roots that are higher up are going to have to be taken off altogether. But we'll figure that out here when we put it in the pot. So that's all I took off the bottom. I figure out if I want it in the center or if I want it off center and how much off center. I'm going to put some decorative rocks in here as well. So that'll help, I think, balance it out a little bit. Sort of decide on a position here. Now here's where the trouble begins. For a couple of reasons. I start to figure it out right about now that, oh no, I don't have as much soil as I thought I had in here, and I definitely don't have enough. Now, under normal circumstances, that's okay. I've got something around, extra pine bark or perlite or something. I can figure something out. Well, this is a certain type of soil that I don't have on hand. So I did have a little bit of pumice. So I'm going to take the soil back out of the pot, mix the pumice in with it. Also, I'm going to lay a pretty thick layer of just pea gravel on the bottom to A, take up some space, so space that I won't need soil for, and B, it will just help even more with the drainage. So there it is, just regular old pea gravel. So I've mixed in the pumice with the Kanuma soil. I didn't want to mix any perlite in or pine bark because I thought it would be it would have too much moisture retention. So that's why I just stuck with this. And I had just barely enough this time around by doing this. So crisis averted, but it made me a little nervous there. So I can reposition it now. Figure it all out again. Somehow lost my little soil cup in the process of this, so I'm just going bucket to pot. Just improvising here. Working all the soil into the roots thoroughly, making sure that there's no air pockets in there. I just want to make sure that it's all in there really good. I start to see the roots that are too high, and I start trimming away at those. Fill up a little more soil, trimming away. I'm really being careful with this because Ming Aralias, I don't know, some people swear they're not that hard, but for me, they're just kind of finicky. So you can see some exposed roots there, which I'm not loving. As finicky as they are, I don't want to try something like that. So I'm working the soil in. I'm trying to decide, do I really want to expose more trunk line, or do I want to push it down in there even more? To cover up some of those roots. But finally I just decide, no, I don't want to. I'm just going to trim the roots that are too high and maybe just add some more soil in a couple of strategic spots and have the levels sort of uneven, and just put some rocks around the uneven spots to hold the soil in and add to that raw, natural look of it. So that's what I do. Kind of scraping the bottom of the bucket there just to make sure I get all the soil. Can't believe I miscalculated. So you can see there the soil level. This is unusual for me, and probably for most people, to have unlevel soil like this. Higher on one side and lower on another. It's not unheard of. It's just a little bit unusual. But I'm an unusual guy, so I'm gonna roll with it. So I put some decorative stones. These are just some granite rocks that I collected one day out at the lake. They look cooler when they're wet, as you'll see here in a minute. I put them in strategic places so that A, it keeps the tree more stable in the pot, and B, it'll help that uneven soil sort of stay in place. I don't typically wire my trees in. I could have, but I usually just don't. I'm going to give it a good thorough watering. Even after I go through this entire water bottle, which I think is, can't remember if it's a 20 ounce or a 32 ounce bottle, but even after I go through this entire thing, I still take it over to the sink and I thoroughly soak it. And that helps get all the dust and fine particles out. It's kind of hard to tell, but that water down there is very dusty, and it's a yellow kind of dust as well. Didn't expect that with Kanuma soil. So here it is. This is what it looks like when it's all said and done. I am still going to do some cuttings here, which I'll show you in a second. I'm going to try them 2 ways, wet and dry. But that's how it looks so far. So on the dry, even on the dry one, I'm still going to wet the soil once and then not water it hardly at all, if at all, for weeks and weeks. And on the wet one, it's just a cup full of water. That's it. I've had really good luck rooting cuttings in these little styrofoam cups. I don't know what it is about the styrofoam, but for some reason it works really well, even better than just a plastic bottle. So I'll keep you updated on the cuttings as well, and I'll let you know, did either method work? Did both methods work? Did only one method work? Who knows? I'll let you know either way. These are also going to go in my office where there will have some bright indirect light, but nothing too direct, putting too much stress on them when they don't have roots. So the wet method and the dry method. I'll give you one last look here at the tree itself in its final form. Here it is. I appreciate everybody who watches, and please like and subscribe if you haven't yet. You can see updates on this and some others. Wish me luck on my new Ming Aralia. Thanks everybody. Have a good rest of your day.